Hey, hi everybody, welcome to Dear Day's presentation. We're going to be taking a look at the Set 5 rank ladder at the moment. We're going to be taking a look at some of the top competing players of the Dear Day's ladder at the moment. You kind of could call it looking back into the past, sort of looking into the future, since we have a little bit of a difference toward how we did in the Set 5 meta. Since we don't really have any of the collaboration sets, so we can't really take a look at Monster Strike or anything. But we do have some of the promos that have been added during the season. So let's take a look at some of the decks that have been doing really well, discuss a little bit in depth. We're going to probably skip through some of the things that are kind of like, I wouldn't call it general knowledge, I'll just boil it down to an essence, and if you guys want me to expand on them a little bit more, we'll get into it. And don't forget, if you want to watch me live, you can take a look at us when we go live on twitch.tv/J.J Rogers. Don't forget to tune in when you have the time to. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So, with the first list, we'll be taking a look at some Seraph Snow from Nong Snow themselves. It's gonna be a variant that incorporates a very spicy tech. They'll be using the refurbishment dock, which allows him to Counterblast 1 to activate this order, and your grade 2s get boost. So some of the biggest issues that Prison usually tends to have is that you have so many grade 2s. They can't really chalk them up on a board, and they can't really do too much with them, since you kind of want to try to make use of Turquoise, which forces your opponent to call cards out of their order zone and reducing their power, thereby reducing their threat. So even on their Persona right turns, instead of being 33 or 38k beat sticks, they just become 28 and 18, which is really strong as an archetype card. And it still gives you access to some of your really cool cards like Cuff Spring and Agra Rouge, allowing you to present some of your cards, be really good interceptors, beefy frontline cards, while also giving you boosters that also get very threatening as well, forcing cards out to your opponent's hand. It's really nice. Negative power does exist indeed, and there it is. So right now we're currently live on stream, so a lot of the chat is going to be giving their own insights into how they feel a little bit about it too as well, which is really cool. So that's one of the decks you might want to pick up, consider. This is a version that does not run it, so you can opt to play it or not play it at all. It also does not run any Bub Mines. They tend to focus a little bit more on the suppressed Gleamers, so just having a consistent 15k booster, 13k booster is still really nice, and this is more of an aggressive slant. You can still play the archetype relatively lame with some defensive options like the grade 1 that has 5k shield, and be a 10k guard, which is still pretty cool. But let's take a look at something else. I would expect this deck to be Kyrie. Yeah, exactly, I thought so. So this is the grade 4 Kyrie variant, being able to make use of the really awesome grade 1 Eileen, allowing you to take a look at the top of your deck, being able to reset your rear guards as much as you possibly can. Being able to push pressure on your opponent, drawing some cards. They do play a split of draws and fronts from what I've seen in some lists, which is really awesome. And you being able to use Eileen to stack cards on the top of your deck and being able to reset it and bounce it and create a whole bunch of extra pressure here allows you to be able to just outvalue your opponent with just sheer pressure. This doesn't, how to explain it? It doesn't look as threatening, because oftentimes when I'm playing against it, or when you're playing against it, you're like, man, this deck is beatable. It's not that strong. It's a very strong deck. That's why in TCG, for most sets, it has been really one of the best decks in the format, because it just draws a bunch of cards, it gives a bunch of multi-attacks, and allows you to reset a whole lot of your threats that you had on the board. It allows you to push pressure and eke out advantage over your opponent every single turn. And the columns are huge. The columns are huge, and it's very threatening. Now on to another one, number 22 on the ladder. They are playing Flagberg. Flagberg is a really good archetype. They are playing a very different variation from what I would have expected that they'd be playing. They're actually running the Mantis, a card I have not really seen since like set 3, and they're also not running the Zorga package, which most archetypes are currently running as well. And they're also running, since we have access to Shelling Cannon Dragon, of course this makes this deck a whole lot stronger. at the moment, but most people usually have cut like this to 3 and are running like a couple more of the cards, like the grade 2 that retires itself to give 10k to one of your units. Maybe the grade 1 that allows you to, oh, but that's not out yet. I was about to say a Leonore grade 1, but that's in set 6. It was like a Leonore grade 1, you'd be able to cut a blast 1, call a card from your drop zone sort of thing. But we don't have access to that card yet, so that's going to actually be, we'll have to wait for it. It's going to be here soon. And outside of that, they're running like draws and crits, because you don't really need fronts in Flagberg. If you hit your persona right, or you hit some of your pieces that you'll be using, it's going to be pretty good. And I kind of like the fact that they're using Mantis, since you kind of need some boosters to allow your units to hit for pressure, and there'll be turns where you don't see your persona right, you still want to be able to poke your Vanguard a little bit. It creates some of your columns to be either 18, 24, 18, 23, 23k columns, which is still really good. Alright, so we have Neat here at number 21, playing Eva, Madame Eva herself. I see that they're running like a pretty cut and dry standard list, since we don't have access to Combine Rusher, which is in set 6. I don't really see too much that needs to be changed or improved on. They are running draws instead of fronts, which does make me a little bit nervous. It does make me a little bit nervous for them decking out, but I can see the logic behind of it, since there are a lot more aggressive decks in this meta in comparison to what we had in our older standard meta a couple months ago in the TCG. Maybe hitting more draw triggers is a bit more important into some matchups, like Flagberg, for example, since they have access to ways of being able to push pressure through defensive triggers. So I kind of see it. I can kind of see it. I'm still going to probably try my variant with fronts instead of draws, and probably try the grade 1 that sends your grade 3s back into deck, since there are moments where you can hit some upskadates and damage, and it allow you to draw cards, and you can just send it for free. You don't have to draw cards, you don't have to soul blast for it, but you can just send your grade 3 back, which just allow you to just filter through your deck, and you don't have to use your orders, and you can kind of keep your orders active for whenever you need to use for extra things. I do like the fact that they run Effect in here, which does allow you to discard it every single turn, or discard it off an order, and you can try dig for extra orders that you'll be needing. So this deck is relatively straightforward. There's not much to change or improve on. I think the only thing you want to change or change around is a successor of Variable Star. Maybe reduce it by like 1 or 2 copies and try out something else. I think that's like the only card you can kind of change around in the deck. Alright, let's go up a little bit here. Then we have some Keter Sanctuary, some PBO. I don't really think there's much that's changed outside of the D promo that we've currently gotten in here, which does give more access to Blaster unit support, which is still kind of cute. I like that. So I guess a Knight of Inheritance, Emmeline, does give you some extra reach with your Blaster cards. Does allow you to search for more out of your deck for them. So I guess that's a good reason for it, and especially with Drilling Angel allowing you to soul charge cards out to your drop zone, you can, you know, try to top deck it, I guess, if you want to, or it allows you to give access to your PBO. So, for what I've known, okay, it's in a right deck. Okay, so they're running this as a right deck card. Okay, good. I actually, unironically, would probably have this as my right deck, since I like this artwork a little bit more. Outside of that, it looks like a very straightforward list, to be honest, and they're running fronts too, because you can tend to deck out a whole lot in this archetype. So I like this. You draw a lot off of Skull Witch Nemain. So I like it. Then some more Brandgate cards again. Eva again. I think nothing's really changed too much except for an extra copy of Variable Star. And I think that's it. Nothing else really. Let's continue going here. Can't have access to that one. I like the second Blasted Dark, since Eva is meta, you can turn off your deck. True, that's true. That's actually something I forgot to realize as well, is that there's some variants that actually run like 3 Blasted Darks instead of just 2. Because then you can actually, you tend to get targeted by cards that can bind, and the Eva order can tend to bind some of your pieces away from you. But I guess their logic might be is that if they have maybe 1 to 2 on a board, they can keep on cycling through them. So if you retire one, you don't need to play like more than 2, maybe. So all you need to do is just hit the second one, but you gotta be very careful. So I tend to like running 3 so you don't have that happen as an issue. And they play Mabel because it's just an extra 20k attack for free, especially when you just Persona right on the turn, which is nice. Because you used to run like, what, 2 to 3 copies of Mabel and like none of the promo yet, because we didn't have the promos yet. They're difficult to come by right now. 3 copies of Tactian here. What are they running instead? Oh, they're running 4 copies of this. So this is where they play Variable Star at 4, so they run 3 Tactians? That's, Don't know how to feel about that one. It looks like 4 draws seems to be the standard. And then we have number 17 here, playing Draconic Overlord. They're running like a JP variant, I feel. They're running like a Japanese variant. They were rocking this a while in their meta, where they were running at least one of the wide line of Babasagura grade 1s. Which does allow them to filter their deck and play like with 1 less cards in it, and especially since we're rocking a new grade 1 promo, which it gives you an extra booster, allows it to call itself out, just allow you to get extra pressure on your opponent, which is super cool. Alright, let me take a look. Is this anything? This is Nirvana. This is not really reinventing the wheel here. If you ever played against Nirvana, you're gonna kind of just see this a whole lot. I don't think there's really much you can change or cut or add. It's just a Nirvana list. Dragon Empire is very cut and dry sometimes. There's sometimes a little spicy tech here. And somebody is actually rocking Graham Grace. Sheesh! Graham Grace with Ezrod Angel. Okay. That's pretty cool. And they're running Blastodarks. I guess it allows them to like retire stuff to their opponent. And they're running 3 draws? Really? Draws? I feel like with Graham Grace you draw like almost 2 cards per turn off the Persona ride. But I guess you want to find more of your targets anyway. I like their deck name. Oh! This is one of the decks that I'm really keen on giving a try. So this is really cool that they're rocking this. 2 copies of Mabel. I like it, I like it. I think Graham Grace is one of those archetypes that, yeah, we probably would like a Graham Grace or Red Light, but I feel like almost a lot of the archetypes that we currently have in Overdress might not need it. Let's take a look. Whew. Fully pimped out Dragonic Overlord, the end almost. And they're running this. Choose when this is placed on rear, Counterblast 1, choose one of your Vanguards gets +10. This was part of the BC as a BCS entry promo. That's interesting that they're rocking this. I guess it forces your opponent to gargle more cards out of their hand, which is kind of cool. And they seem to be running the Conroe grade 1. Not Conroe, the Bar grade 1. So they're still like prioritizing any of the grade 1 PGs or orders and stuff, I guess. Alright, let's take a look at what else is rocking up in... Okay. Prison. Just Prison. We're running Rainbow, which is interesting. Rainbow with 3 crit. I guess since it's an aggressive slant, and you just want to try focus on getting to the... Yeah, they just focus on getting to the 10. And so their front row is going to get crit themselves. Okay, that's logical. Oh, Esticize. Ernest's correct. Clarissa. So they're running a... Huh. Alright. So they're just running all of the good cards that you usually would run. This is one of the other archetypes too that's kind of very difficult to build for, since you kind of want to try hit all of your correct... your Ernest correct stuff. Nothing too much to improve on here. I love this. I love this. Card gamers should buy cards by the promos, by the cartons. Should buy more cards by the cartons. I like that. Yep. Nothing too much to improve on here. This is Nirvana Yeva. Not Yeva, Mahar, Nirvana. Not too much to improve on here. Standard list. Oh, you can't name your deck Clarissa these days? Oh yeah, because there's like curse words in different languages. You can't really name it whatever you want to anymore. That's very funny. Graham Grace. Fun. Wow, it is really cool that they're running like 4 copies of Asado. I mean, what do you use the soul for? When this unit attacks, if you have another grade 3 in the same column as this unit gets plus 1 grade, plus 5k until end of turn. Funny. Huh. Okay. That's funny. So if you hit like OT, for example, this gets... No, it doesn't get Twin Drive, sadly. It just gets 1 grade. 1 grade. Funny. Alright, let's take a look here. Just a lot of prison, it seems. A lot of prison, a lot of Flagberg. They're running the Flagberg order. Okay, that's really cool. Some draws. They're also running the effect heals, which works a lot with multi-attack archetypes. You could possibly play the one that works with crits, since a lot of archetypes get crit from themselves. Especially if you're playing a lot against prison. Then we also have Overlord again. They're using shield instead of sword. That's really cute. Really cute decision. Then this is a straightforward list. Not reinventing the wheel here. I like that. Tamarira. I really like that too, because they also have access to broken toys, which allows you to be able to get more copies of your dolls into your soul. It's pretty insane, and you can use it on your first turn, which is so good. So good into most of the meta. It's really nice, and especially since you still have access to your order that allows you to reduce power from your opponent. It's so good. See, another prison deck. More prison. Actually, wait. There we go. Ah, there we go. Yep. So, Tamarira. Kyrie. Yep. Here we go. Oh, they're running pure draws and crits, it seems. I like this a bit more. I like pure draws and crits in mostly a best of one format situation. And I like the fact that they're running. I think some archetypes can run fronts, but I'm overall more of a fan of crits and draws than anything. And second place, Tamarira. So cool. That's super cool. Wait, they're running only 3 copies of Tamarira? Oh, look. Oh, okay, never mind. I was very surprised. Okay, so there's an SP over here. So they're running 4. Okay. Very straightforward. They're running 4 broken toys, though. Interesting. So only their grade 1s and grade 2s are all of the direful dolls. And then we have our last one being Overlord. So these are some of the best decks currently on the ladder. We're asked before by our good friend Cardfight Nation, what are some of the other archetypes that you could also be rocking this to on the ladder? I mean, I could mention a couple here off the top of my head. I mean, Eva is still good. Prison is relatively okay from what we've seen. I feel like Orphis can be playable, but you need to build a very specific way for it to be able to combo high enough to challenge a lot of these archetypes, especially the power lanes, because it's not about the amount of attacks you do, it's the power of the attacks you do, which is very important. I feel like Bruce can probably make a good splash, but it depends on what variant of it you want to play. I think grade 4 Bruce is probably like one of the better of the variants at the moment. You could possibly play like grade 3 Bruce still, since we do have access to the special series grade 2, which gets plus 10k for every attack that it does, so you can swing for 30 or 40k on a Persona right turn. But I feel like it's very dicey, so let me give you guys a quick look here at... So say for example for Keta Sanctuary, some of the other decks you might want to consider playing. Grade 3. Some other grade 3s you possibly could be considering would be Thiegra, since we do have access to the promo, which allows you to draw 2 cards instead of just 1 on your Persona right turn, and your front row gets plus 15k instead of just plus 10, which does allow you to hit for more in terms of attack power and pressure. You'll need to try to find a way to make it work yourself, especially playing against a bunch of different decks that have ways of dealing with Retire. And we did not see any Gravidia on ladder, but trust me, Gravidia is still a really good deck. Gravidia is relatively still really good, and it's a deck you'll need to be very careful about underestimating, especially when they filter through their deck of all their meteors and they nuke your board while doing a whole bunch of multi attacks. So the reason why a lot of the decks that are currently being played in the ladder are relatively good at the moment at climbing is due to the fact that they bounce their cards back to their hand, and B, they can push through your opponent's Retire because they draw so much card that it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. And they oftentimes swing for like relatively good numbers that allows you to not deal with them too easily. So Thiegra is really good. What other archetype is an honorable mention as well? Another archetype is honorable mention, Zorga. In my opinion, is a really good honorable mention, whether or not it is red or blue. Currently, we don't have the other orders that are in set 6, but since we do have access to the promo order. Give me a second while I look for it for you guys. There we go. So once we do have access to this order, Clouded Miasma, blue order can be played, but I think red order is a little bit better. Red Zorga is a little bit better at the moment because of it. So you can still play red Zorga and do really well, because you kind of have the same situation as you do usually, is that you accumulate so much card advantage, your opponent just has to constantly tank 33k lanes every single turn with crit on them, and your opponents don't usually aren't usually able to deal with it. Not every single turn, at least. They'll have to have PGs every single turn, which, you know, depends on the archetype you're playing against. Can farm for them really well, but not gonna always have them all the time. And I think that's it for now. I mean, there's also like, what other archetypes like Magnolia and stuff like that sadly aren't doing too hot. Any other lyrical decks, maybe Lorenerol can still do something and do a bit of pressure, but that's still a little bit on the weaker side. Not impossible to deal with, but a little bit weaker right now. What other archetype right now? Am I forgetting anything? Don't think I'm really forgetting anything. I think that's it. Keter we mentioned. Dark States we've mentioned. Bar Magnus. Bar Magnus is a little cheeky. I think Bar Magnus is in a position where not a lot of people are just playing it at all, period. For you to really get a sense of how strong it is or not. I think the fact that your opponent... Yeah, I think the fact that your opponent... Clarissa? I don't think Clarissa is that strong. Clarissa needs too big of a board to do anything, and it loses to Gravidia because of it. Like, sure, you could use the grade 1 to bounce something back. It depends on the order of, like, what your opponent wants to pop with, like, meteors. Or that your opponent just kind of, like, doesn't really care. Cost 2 cards in the front row that are hitting, like, close to 30 to 40k. And they're still swinging on you for 5 hits. And that's kind of, like, one of the biggest issues that Clarissa has. It can get a bunch of cards in hand, but some of the cards in hand can be kind of thick. because of course you're running orders in the deck. Bar Magnus also suffers from that issue a little bit too, is that your hand can kind of be fake sometimes. That's it. So that's it for now, everyone. Be awesome, stay awesome, have a wonderful day. Thank y'all for tuning in and stopping on by for this episode. We'll try to chop this down a little bit into a concise, small bite of information. If there's any decks and archetypes that we missed, I'll obviously give my own 2 cents of them in the comment section below for you guys if we're missing anything. So, take care.
In other words, I love you. In other words, I love you.